Hi everyone, welcome back to the Programming Fields. I'm super excited you are here. In the last few videos, we explored how to set up Laravel 12 with modern tools like React, Inertia, and even WorkOS authentication. We also saw how to build reusable components, clean CRUD patterns, and dynamic models using Tailwind UI. But today we are switching gears. No heavy front-end frameworks, no React or Vue, just pure Laravel, Tailwind CSS, and the incredible Alpine.js. We are going to build a complete product management UI from scratch, and trust me, this is not just another boring CRUD application. And here is what you will learn today. A model-driven create, edit, view system using Alpine State, live image previews for multiple uploads with drag and drop functionality, smart handling of new versus existing images with clean deletion. Also with backend validation and storage using Laravel's eloquent magic, and a slick, fully responsive UI powered by Tailwind plus Lucid icons. We will walk through everything step by step from backend to frontend with fully reactive models, flash messages, and image management, all controlled by Alpine.js in the most elegant way. And if you're new to Alpine.js, this is a lightweight JavaScript framework that gives us the power of modern interactivity without leaving our blade templates. You can think of it like a simpler alternative to Vue or React, but this is made specifically for situations where you want interactivity without a full front-end build system. Alpine lets you handle UI state, models, form interactions, and dynamic DOM behavior using minimal JavaScript and clean HTML, and this is perfect for Laravel applications where you are working with Livewire or Blade. And this provides a couple of attributes, properties, and methods in order to make interactive applications. We will dig this deeper in upcoming videos by making a separate playlist on this. As of now, I will just navigate to our demo application. In this tutorial, Alpine handles our model visibility, image previews, drag and drop uploads, and form interactions, all while keeping our code simple, fast, and maintainable. And if you are someone who loves Laravel but wants to add just the right amount of interactivity without overcomplicating with a full single-page application framework, this is the perfect stack. Now let me quickly show you what we will be building today. Here we have the products listing. At the right side, we have the Add Product button. From here, we can create a new product. For that, we have our following fields, including name, price, status, description, and featured image. From here, we can upload multiple images, and we have drag and drop and click functionality, and the server side form validation. So if you will have any error, the form won't be submitted. And also this pop-up will be reopened for populating the validation error messages. Now let's quickly create one product here. So I will enter the product name like new earbud. I will set the price. The status will be active. Product description. And from here we can upload multiple images. So I will show you the both approaches by clicking or by dragging the files. So I will quickly drag these two images and I will drop it inside this. As soon as I dropped the images inside this, the selected images are shown here as a preview. From here, we have the remove option. So if we want, we can remove any selected image before submitting to the server side. Now let's suppose if I want to remove this second image, I will simply click on this remove icon, and yes, that image got removed. Now when I'll click on save, yes, we have product created and we saw one flash message over here. And after a few seconds, that flash message got disappeared. And here we have the newly created product. In the action, we have the view, edit, and delete. If we'll click on view, the same model will be pop up with the product details. And also for edit, we have opened the same model. And on edit, all the fields are enabled, including this image upload. From here, we can upload a new image, or we can update this by default with the existing image. So if we'll click on update, yes, the product is updated. Further, we have this delete action. So if we'll click on this delete, this will ask one confirmation for this alert. And if we'll confirm, yes, that product got deleted and we have the success message. Now that you have seen what we will build today, so let's start step by step. So grab a coffee, fire up your editor, and let's build something awesome with Laravel 12 plus Alpine.js plus Tailwind CSS. So I will quickly jump to the terminal and I will open the terminal in a new tab. And I will navigate to the different directory. And from here, I will do a quick project setup using Laravel installer. So I will type Laravel new and I will give the project name as Laravel Alpine CRUD. I will hit enter. And here I won't select any starter kit. I will go with none because we are going to implement Alpine.js. So we don't need any starter kit like React, Vue or Livewire. We will build it simply using Laravel Blade only. So I will go with none. And let's skip this paste for the testing framework. Now this is installing Laravel 12 application. Let's wait for a moment. And regarding the database, I will go with the default SQLite. And the migrations have been executed. Further, this will install node modules. So let's wait for a moment. Yes, this is asking, would you like to run npm install and npm run build? Yes, I will go with yes because I need Vite server for front-end asset bundling. So I have selected yes and this is installing and the installation has been completed. Now I will quickly navigate to this project folder. So I will type cd Laravel Alpine CRUD and I will open this in the VS Code editor. So let's hit enter. Yes, the project has been opened in the VS Code editor. Now let me quickly zoom in the screen. Okay, the project setup is done. Now I will quickly navigate to the terminal back. And from here, I will set this to wallet path. So I will add wallet link and also wallet park command. So the wallet's path has been added for this project folder. Now I will duplicate this terminal window. And here I will run composer run dev command so that this will bundle all the assets and also this will serve the Laravel application. And yes, this has been started. Now let's quickly jump to the browser. And here I will open a new tab. Inside this, I will search for Laravel Alpine CRUD.test. This will be our Laravel application URL. Let's hit enter. And yes, the project is running on this URL. Now let me zoom in this window. Okay. Now in the next step, I will create model migration and the controller for that. So I will switch back to the previous tab here and I will enter PHP artisan make model command. And from here, I will create one model for the product. And also I will pass flag for creating the migration controller and that controller should be resource controller. So I will enter -m for migration, C for controller and R for the resource methods. Let's hit enter. And here this has created these 3 files. Now let's quickly jump to the code editor and inside the database migrations, here we have the products table. Okay. Now apart from the products table, I need one more table in order to manage the product images. Because in our demo application, we saw we have the functionality to upload multiple images by drag drop or by on click. Okay. So for that, we need a separate table in order to store multiple images. So again, I will create one more model and migration for that. So let me create that. I will add PHP artisan make model and this will be product image and I will add -m for migration. Let's hit enter. And yes, we have one more model and migration created. Now let's quickly add a schema for the product table. So I will start with table string, and firstly I will enter name for the product. And let me collapse the sidebar tab first. And after the name, I will add slug. So this will be string. Okay. And we can add comment. So this will be product name. And here, this will be slug of the product. Further, I will add SKU so that every product will have unique ID. And let's add the comment. This will be product SKU. Further, I will add description. So I will set text and description. This will be product description. Now we'll check the fields. After description, we have the price and status. So next I will add price, and I will set this to decimal. This will be price, and I will set 10 and up to 2 decimal places. Okay. This will be price. And also I will add status. So I will set this to enum. And here I will specify the column as status. And inside the enum, I will set 2 values like active or inactive. Just like this. And by default, I will set this to active. And I will add one comment as product status. Okay. And also for the product management, we are going to use SoftDelete. So when we will delete the product, that will maintain the SoftDelete only. Okay. It won't remove completely from the database. So I will use SoftDeletes. That's all. So the products table migration is added. We have added name, slug, SKU, description, price, status, and we have the SoftDelete flag. This is done. Now respective to this, we need to add the fillable property in its respective model, which is product. So I will navigate to the app, models, and product model. Here I will add fillable property, and inside this I will add the following properties, which are name, slug, description, we have the price, also we have the SKU, okay, status. And for the SoftDelete, I will be using SoftDelete. Okay, so we'll have to import it here in this model. This is done. Now after adding this fillable property, we will specify one relation for the product images table. So I will add one function here. This will be public function, and I will specify the name as product images. Inside this, I will specify has many relation because the product can have multiple images. So I will set has many, and we have the model as product image : class. Okay. And let's set the foreign ID which have product underscore ID, and we will have to create this schema inside the product image. So I will come to that part later. Firstly, let's finish this model. So we have specified the relation here as product images. Now let's quickly jump to the second migration. We have this product images. Here, firstly we'll insert foreign ID, and I will specify the name as product ID. Next, I will store the image. So I will name it as featured image. Okay. That's all. We need only these columns. Now again, respective to this second migration, we have to add the fillable property inside its model. So I will set protected fillable property and here we need two columns to be inserted, which will be product ID and featured image. That's all. Now inside this model, we can define one more relation just in case if you want to get the product based on its image. So we can set relation as product, and this will have belongs to relation. So I will specify belongs to, and this will belong from product model, and the foreign key we have as product ID, and the primary field is ID. Let's add one annotation. This function will be product. Okay, this is done. Let's save it and let's navigate to the terminal and let's execute the migration using PHP artisan migrate command. Let's hit enter, and yes, these two tables migrations have been executed. And if we'll check out the schema inside database, we have products table, we have this SoftDeletes, and also we have product images table in which we have product ID and featured image. Now in the next step, we will set up and design the front end. So here we need one master layout, okay, in which we can render this listing. So what I will do, inside resources, views, here I will create one folder, and firstly I will name it as layouts, and inside the layouts folder I will create one blade as app.blade.php, and inside this I will create one basic skeleton of HTML. So I will quickly generate it using HTML sample. We have the extension for this. Here we can set the language to English, and inside the page title I will set title as Laravel 12 plus Tailwind plus Alpine.js. Okay, and we have this product management. Now we don't need this style here. We will append this using with. So I will be using with directive, and here inside this array I will just link the CSS and JS from resources, which we have inside resources CSS. Here we have Tailwind CSS included, and also we have this JS in which we have the bootstrap JS. So this is fine. Now inside the app blade, after this CSS and JS, I will import Alpine.js CDN. So I will navigate to the browser, and here at the official documentation of this Alpine.js, if you scroll to top, here we have this CDN. So let's copy this and let's paste it here. This is added as defer, so we can keep it inside head block itself. Now inside the body, I will add a few classes like bg gray of 200, and also I will set text gray to 800. Now inside this, I will create one div as container in which I will set the center alignment and margin top of 8. Now inside the demo application, we saw one title, this one. So I'll copy it from here, and inside this, I will open one heading 1 tag. Inside this, I will paste that text, and I will add a few classes inside this to style. So let me dock this window first. Here I will add text 3XL, font bold, margin bottom of 6. I will add border bottom as 2, and that border color will be border gray as 300 and padding bottom of 3. Now we have to render this view in order to see the changes. So I will navigate to the routes web.php, and here I will create one resource route because we have created resource controller. So I will specify resource, and inside this I will set the route as products, and here I will call product controller class. This is done. Now let's import this product controller here. Now further, we will have to navigate to the product controller. So let's navigate to this. And inside this index function, firstly we will have to render the view. So instead of rendering this app blade, what I will do, inside this views itself, I will create one more folder as products. And inside this products folder, I will create one view as index.blade.php. Now inside this blade, I will extend that master layout. So we have layouts.app. Now we will render this view from this controller. So inside this index function, I will write return view products.index. And let's add the return type as view, and this will be illuminate view. Now let's navigate to the browser. And here in this application, let's switch to the /products. So we have this layout rendered. This is same. Okay. Now let's design this listing. Okay. So inside this view, so inside this products.index blade, we have to design table listing. So for that, what we'll do, inside this container, I will use yield directive after this heading. So I will use yield and I will add the key as content. Now inside this index blade, I will define section as content and I will end this section here. Now here we will have to design the table listing. So firstly I'll create one div and I will set the padding of y as 4. Now inside this, firstly we need a button at the top right corner. So I will set flags justify between items center, and I will set margin bottom of 4. And also we need a title here, this products list, and at the right side we will have this add product button. So firstly let's define one heading 1 in which I will set class as 2XL and font will be bold. I will add the title as products list. Now further I will add the button to create product. So I will add one button in which I will set the title as add product and I will style it by adding the classes. So I will add flags, items, center, the cursor will be pointer, and we need the purple background color similar to this. So I will add BG purple and I will set the opacity to 600, and on hover we can add the effect to set the BG purple 700. We can set text white, padding X as 4, padding Y of 2, and we can set the rounded border. Now inside this button, just before this text, we saw one icon which is plus. So we have used this Lucid icons. Okay. And for this, I will be using Lucid icons CDN. So I will search for Lucid icons CDN. Here we have Lucid icons CDN. Let's open this. Now inside this, if you'll scroll down, here we have this CDN. So let's copy this production version. This is final version here. And let's navigate to the code. And here inside the app blade, just before this closing of body tag, I will add this Lucid icon. Okay. And further we will have to initialize the Lucid icons. So we'll write a script, and in between this script, we'll use lucid.create icons. Okay. So the Lucid icons have been initialized here. Now we can use it in our blade file. So just before this title, here I will use I and data dash lucid. So by using this way, we can use all the lucid icons in Laravel. And here we'll have to pass the class name for that icon. So for the plus, we have the plus circle. Now if we navigate to the browser and in the application, here we have the icon. We can set the height and width by adding the classes. So let's add class and we'll set height as 4, width as 4. And also I will set margin right as 1. Yes, this is perfect. Now next, we have to design this table. So after this, here we will design the table. So let's create one div here, bg white, and I will add shadow, MD, rounded border, and overflow. I will set this to X auto so that we can have a scrollable if length increases. Now I will create table in which we'll have class as min, width to full, and the table will be auto. Now inside this table, let's create t head, and inside the t head we will have tr. Okay, so in the tr we'll add few th. So we need columns like index. Firstly we will have this index. Next we need name, SKU, price, and for the price again we will have to use lucid icon here. So I will use data lucid, and this will be Indian rupee. We have the icon, and next we have the status. So this will be status, featured image, and action. This is featured image, and lastly we have the action column. Now let's design the columns here. So I will add class in the tr first. So this will be bg gray as 100. I will set the text to left, border bottom, and the border color will be gray 400. Now inside the th, I will add classes in all the th. So I will select th just like this, and I will use class property in which I will set padding x as 4, padding y of 2, font I will set this to semi bold. Now regarding this price, we need to set the flags so that this column name and this icon should be visible in the same alignment. So I will use flags and items center. Also for this icon we can set the width and height. So I will use width 4, height 4, and I will set margin left of 1. Now if we'll navigate to the browser and if we'll check the application, yes, we have the columns aligned now. Now let's design the t-body. So here we'll have to design this one more tr, and that will come inside t-body. So after this t-head, here we will have t-body. This will be t-body. So inside the t-body, I will create one tr and the same number of td here. So I will create td and I will duplicate. Okay, this is done. And in the tr, I will be adding few classes like border bottom, and the color will be gray 300. And the same classes we need to add for the td as well, whatever we have added for the th. So inside the td, let's select it and I will add these all classes. This is done. Now if we'll check, currently we don't have any data, so this is fine. Now we have to work on the add product. So whenever we'll click on add product, this should open this model, and for that we will have to design this model component. So what I will do, I will create one more blade file inside this products folder. So firstly I'll create one folder as partials, and inside this I will create one view as product model.blade.php. Now inside this we have to design a model form. So I will create one div here and I will set the class as fixed inset of 0 bg. I will set black and I will set the opacity 50, flags item center and justify center. Also I will set z index to 50, just like this. Now let me collapse the sidebar again. Okay. Now inside this div, let's create one more div for creating internal sections. And here I will set the classes like bg white because we need white background, rounded, lg, shadow, xl. Okay. And I will set width to full and max width will be double XL, just like this. And we can set the padding of 8. Now inside this div, I will add one headline which will be h2 and I will create one title as create product. Currently I'm setting the static title. Later I will set this to dynamic by using Alpine.js. And here I will pass the classes like text to XL. Font will be bold and I will set margin bottom as 6. Now we have to render this sub view inside the main index blade. So just before this ending of section, here I will include that product model form. So I will be using include directive and I will pass the products.partials.product model. So this is included. Okay. Now if we'll come to the browser and if we'll check, this is rendering by default. So firstly, let's finish up the design of this model form. And initially we will hide this model and we will trigger up this model only on that button click. So after this title, we need the label and input fields. So here inside the product model, after this heading, I will create one form element. So I will open form. Now inside this form, firstly we need product name. Okay. So I will create one div and I will set the margin bottom of 3 so that the next row won't overlap from this one. And firstly we need label and this will be for name and this is product name basically. And here we'll set some classes like block, text will be SM, font medium, text gray 700 and margin bottom of 1. Now after this label, I will create input type text, name will be name and I will set the class like width full, rounded and border. Also will set the border gray of 300, padding X of 3, padding Y of 2 and the placeholder color I will set as gray 400. Now on focus of this input, I will set outline to none and also will set the border on focus. So we'll set focus ring -1 and on focus, the color will be purple and opacity will be 500. And we can add placeholder as well. So I will set product name. Now if we'll check out the browser and here, yes, this has rendered. Now further we need price and status. So we'll have to split the next row into 2 columns, which will be grid. So I will create this for price and status. So we'll have to create the div having grid and firstly we'll break this grid into 2 columns. So for the mobile view, I want this to be as grid 1 and from the medium and upper devices, this will have grid columns 2, and I will set the gaps between the columns as 3 and margin bottom as 3. Now inside this grid, I will create one div for column 1 in which we will have label, and we can add the same classes. So let's copy, paste it here. This will be for price, and we can set the input. So I will copy the same input and I will add it here, and this will be for price. Okay, this will be product price. We can set the name as price. This is done. Now after this label, we have status field. This was for price. So let's copy this and add it here. Now this will be for status, and instead of this input type, we'll have to create select. Name will be status, and here let's remove this placeholder, and instead let's create option. So firstly I'll create one default option as select, which will be selected by default and disabled with empty value. Now let's duplicate this and let's create 2 more options which will have value property. So the first will be like active, and the value will be active. The second will be inactive. Okay, this is done. Now if we'll check the browser, yes, this is rendered. Further, we have to design this description field. So let's copy this div, and we'll have to keep it outside this grid system. Next we have this description, and this will be text area. Name will be description. Let's copy this, and we can set the ID attribute as description. The placeholder will be product description, and let's close this text area. This is done. Also we need to set the ID attribute for all the fields. We missed that, and this will be for price. Here we have name. Now after this description, we need the image upload, which will be drag and drop, and we will have to close this select here. This is done. The description is completed. So this is rendered. Now we have to design this file upload, which will be featured image. So this will be drag and drop. Okay, so let's create one div, and inside this we'll create label, and let's add the classes like block. So better we can copy the same class from here, and this will be labeled as featured image. Now after this label, we will have to create one more div in which we will set the border. So we'll add width full, border of 2, and the border type will be dashed. Let's set the color as purple 400, padding X 5, and padding Y of 20. Let's make this to rounded LG. Text center, BG will be gray of 50, and we can set the cursor to pointer, and we can add the hover effect as well as BG gray 100 with transition effect. Now inside this div, let's create one input type file component. This will have name property having images with array, because this will accept multiple. So we'll have to set this to array with multiple property, and we can specify the accept. So I will set this to image. Okay, now we have to hide this, and just over that we will have to add these two labels. So after this input type, I will create paragraph element which will have text purple, and I will set the color to 600 with font semi bold and flex because we have to display the icons over there. And this will be justify center. Now inside this paragraph element, firstly let's add the icon as data lucid, and this will have upload icon. Let's set the class as margin right of 2. Let's close this, and I will add the label just like click or drag image to upload. Click or drag image to upload. Now after adding this label, we need one more label here, just this one. You can select multiple images. So after this p tag, again we'll open one more paragraph, and the text will be like, you can select multiple images, and we can add the classes like text extra small, color will be gray 500, and we can set the margin top like 1.5. Now currently, if you try to click on this input type only, which is type of file, this has opened the file browser for selecting the file. Now instead of this, I want to make the entire div to be clickable and draggable. So for this, we will have to just set the reference on this entire div using Alpine.js. And when we'll click anywhere inside this div, this will just bind that click with this input file, and it will open that file explorer to browse and select the file. So let's add that. So firstly, we'll add the click event inside this div. So for adding the onClick event, we will use the Alpine.js instead of JavaScript. So if we'll check out the official documentation, here we have the click event just like this. So we can use this directive as @click, and let's apply it here. @click, and on click, firstly let's try adding alert hello. Now in order to make this click working, we will have to wrap this component in the Alpine component. So if we'll check out the documentation, here for making this click, this has added data attribute. So any HTML or div which will have x-data, that will be considered as Alpine component. So here inside this code, just for testing purpose, I will add x-data. Now I will navigate to the browser, and inside the application, if we try to click anywhere inside this bordered area, yes, we can see this triggered alert. Okay. So this click is working. That means the Alpine.js has been integrated successfully. So now based on this, we can perform all the events. So initially, I will just remove x data from here. And before applying the click event inside this, I will simply navigate on the index blade because this is our main component. And here I will apply x-data attribute so that this div has been wrapped it inside all the sections. And I will move this component include inside this div itself. So now after the table body, here we have this component. So now we have a single wrapper of the div, which we have x-data attribute. Now in the next step, I will apply onClick event on this button. So again, I will use @click, and here I just want to open that model. But directly, we cannot open that model by clicking on this because this is not a bootstrap model now. So we'll have to set it using Alpine.js itself. So for that, I will just create one method here, and I will call it inside this open model, just like this. And inside this open model method, I will receive few parameters. Initially, I will receive a parameter just like create, because I just want to use that model for create, view and update as well. So based on the given parameter, it will open that model in that mode. Let's suppose if it is create mode, then all the input fields will be enabled. If it is in view mode, all the fields will be disabled. And if it is again edit mode, that means for update, it will be in editable mode. Now we have to define this method open model, okay? And from there, we will trigger that product model form. So in order to define this method, firstly, I will define one data, which will be basically method. And I will define one global method as product manager here. Now let's copy this method. And here inside this component, after this section, I will use a script. So I will use push directive, and inside this, I will push the scripts from here, and we will have end push. Now in order to push the scripts from this blade to its parent component, which is app blade, here we will have to receive that. So after this script, I will use a stack scripts. So whatever we will push scripts from this index or any blade, that will be pushed automatically here just before closing of this body tag. Now let's navigate to the index blade again, and here we will define that method. So we'll open this script tag. I will define the same function as function product manager. Now inside this function, we will have to return it. Now for triggering the model, we have called this open model function. So we'll have to define this method inside this return statement itself. So we'll create open model function just like this. And here we'll have to receive the parameter because we are passing one value as type of create. So we'll receive one parameter as type. Now we have to define a few states inside the Alpine.js, just like React.js. So we will define a few states here, Alpine states. So firstly, we'll set the flag as is model open. So if the model open is false, by default that model won't be showing. And here we'll set the mode, and initially it will be create mode. And from here we can set the model title, which we already discussed. So initially the title will be like create product, and we will change this dynamic based on that. Now inside the open model, I will set this flag to true. So I will use this dot is model open, and I will apply this to true. Now if this model is opened, we have to open that model. And by default, that model won't be visible. Currently, if we'll check the browser, here this is loaded by default. If we'll refresh, still this is showing. And for this, Alpine.js provides show property. If we'll navigate to the documentation again, here inside the attributes, we have this show property. So this show property will toggle the visibility of any element that you want to hide or show based on the condition. So initially, I will just hide that model component. So inside the product model, I will set the property, okay, as x show, just like this. And inside this, if I will use false, by default, that won't show the model. Now if we'll make it true, now we can see this has shown by default. So we have to make it true and false based on the condition. That means based on the button click only. And for that, we have already defined one state variable, just like is model open, and initially it is false. But when we'll click on the button, this will open model, and here this will set that state to true. So based on this state only, like is model open, if it is true, that will be true. If it is false, that model won't be visible. So now let's pass this state as is model open. Now let's navigate to the browser. And if we'll click on add product, yes, this model is opened now. Now what about the close? Because we have set the visibility based on the button click only. Now we have to set this to false as well. As per the demo, here we need two buttons as cancel and save. So the cancel button we'll just close that model. So here inside this form, after this all, we need the buttons. So I will create 2 buttons. So I will wrap it in a div just like flags, justify end, and a space between the buttons will be 3, padding top of 4. Now inside this, I will create button and type will be button and the text will be like cancel. I will apply few classes, cursor pointer, bg gray edge 300, hover bg gray edge 400, text will be black, and I will set padding x edge 6, padding y of 2, rounded, and I will set the shadow. Now same thing, I'll just replicate this button. The type will be submit, and only I'll change the color to purple here, and over text will be purple 700, over bg purple, and I will set this to 700, and this text will be white. And also let's increase this opacity to 600 so that it will be more darker, and the text will be save. Now let's check out the browser, and if we'll click on add product, yes, we have cancel and save button visible. Now what I want, when I'll click on cancel, this model should be closed. So let's define click event here, and on click, I want to close model. So I will set the function as close model. Let's copy this method name, and inside this index blade, let's define it after this open model. So this will have close model. Okay. And inside this, let's set this state to false. So this model open state will be false. Now let's check out the browser. Let's click on add product. Yes, the model is opened. Now if we'll click on cancel, yes, the model is closed now. So this open and closed is working. Now we have to work on this file input click. So initially, let me hide this input component. So I will add class as hidden, so that by default it won't be visible. And here when we'll click on this parent element, that means this div which has this border area, this is for draggable and clickable. This will just open the file explorer from the system in order to browse or select the files. And for this, Alpine.js provides one more attribute, just ref. Okay. So here we have this ref, which will just set the reference from any parent component to another. So let's implement this ref here. So firstly, we'll set the ref in this input type file. So I will use xref, and we'll set the ref as file input. Okay. This could be anything based on your convenience. Now what I want, when I'll click on this div, from here, I just want to click this input type file. So I will use refs dot file input, which is this ref input key. Okay. And I will use click method, just like this. Now if we'll check, I will open this add product, and from here, this area, I will just click on this. When I clicked, this has opened the file to select and choose. That means internally, this has performed the click on that input element. Now we have to work on the file selection. Okay. And for this, again, I will use the change event provided by Alpine.js itself. So I will be using onChange, and I will define one function as handle image, and I will pass the event just like $event. Now let's copy this function name. Let's navigate to the index itself. After this close model, I will define that method handle image. Okay. Let's capture the event here. So we'll define one variable as event, and here this will return the image or files from that event. So let's capture the files, and we'll use array from event dot target dot files. And for processing the file, again we'll need a few functionality in order to check if it is type of image. Then we will implement the preview for that. So I will create one common function because this will be needed for both events, like on handle change and also on drop as well. So I will define one method as process file handling. This will be file handling, and this will capture the files. Now let's call this function here. So I will use this dot process. We can call the method in this way, file handling, and we will have to pass the files inside this. Now based on the given files, I will iterate those files. So I will use files dot for each file, and here I will use if condition, if file dot type, and if it starts with, so I will be checking starts with image. Then I will set the image in the form state. So what I will do here, I will define a few more states based on the input field. So we have the form input field, just like name, price, status, description, featured image. Okay. So for handling the form using Alpine.js, we have to define all the input states inside that. So I will be using form state here, and we will have to define all the states. So for defining the states, better I will create one common static function so that we can reuse that multiple times. So I will use product manager dot default form. This will be our static function. Now let's copy this function, and here after this method, this will be our reusable state. So I will write product manager dot default form, and this will be our function. Now inside this, I will return this state in the form of object. So we have the property like name, and initially it will be empty string. Further we have price, status. Okay. Also we have the description, and lastly we have to set the images, and this will be empty array. And for tracking the existing image, I will define one more key as existing images, and this will be empty array again. So this is done. Now we have defined these states in the form here. Okay. Now we can use all the states inside this. So for the image, I will use this dot form, and inside the form we have the images. So inside the images, we have to push all the images which are the type of images. So I will push the file inside this. And same thing we will have to push for the preview image. So again I will define one more state here, just like image previews, and again it will be empty array because there can be more than one image selected inside that. So I will be using this state in order to handle the image for preview. So for this I will use this dot image previews dot push, and inside this array I will push the image in the form of object so that we can track the type of the file and also the URL. So I will set the key as URL, in which I will use URL dot create object URL, and I will pass the current file which will be image. Also I will pass the type. So I will set the type as new because this will be only for new image when we will upload image, and this will be entire file object. Now for the else part, if it is not an image, I will set one error So again, I will define one more state as errors, and I will initialize it with empty array again. And here I will set errors dot push, and I will just append that same file name. So I will be using file dot name is not a valid image file. This is done. Now after adding the handle image, we have to work on the handle drop as well. So firstly, let's check the handle image. If we'll click on this button, I will select the image. The image has been pushed on the preview, and for that we will have to render that. So for rendering the image previews inside the model form component, we will have to render the preview. But before that, let's finish this drop event as well. So after this on click, here I will define the event like drag over, and on that we have to prevent the default behavior. And on drop, again we'll have to prevent the default behavior, and I will call the method as handle drop. Okay. And inside this, we will pass the event. Now let's copy this handle drop method. Let's navigate to the index, and here let's define this event handle drop. Now inside the handle drop, let's capture the event again, and just like the handle image, we have to get the files in the same way. But here for the handle drop, this will return the file in the data transfer dot files, just like this. And after handling the file, we will have to attach that file in the same input. So I will use const data transfer equals new data transfer. Okay, this will be object, and I will iterate the files dot for each. So this will be file, and I will use data transfer dot items dot add, and I will add the current file inside that. Further, we have to add these all files inside that input file with the ref, because we have added this file input ref here, so that when we will drop any file inside this div, those images should be added inside this input, and when we'll submit the form, those selected images should be submitted to the server side. So for that, we will have to add that inside ref. So we will be using $this.refs.file input, because we have the ref as file input. So when we will drop any files, we will have to link those files inside the file input itself. And inside this, we have the dot files, and these all files will be linked from this data transfer dot files. So here we are attaching dropped files to the actual file input. Now let's navigate to the product model form, and here we will be working on the preview part. So after this div, here we will render the image in the preview mode. So let's create the div quickly. I will create div of margin 4 grid, and I want to set the grid columns as 2, and for the larger screen, this will have grid columns as 3, and between the grid, I will set the gap as 4. Now for rendering the image in the preview, I will be using Alpine.js for loop. So inside the Alpine.js documentation, if we'll check, we have this x4 directive, which is for repeating the block of HTML. So we will be using this because in the image previewed state, we have multiple images to be previewed. Okay, so we will have to render this image previews. And for this, the Alpine.js provides the template directive. That means this template element. So we will be using the template syntax just like this. Let's copy and add it inside this. Now let's change the condition here. So we have the state as image previews. Let's copy this And here let's replace this posts with image previews. And instead of the post, I will get the image and that index as well. And also we can set the key attribute just like we used in React. And we will pass the index here. Now inside this template, I will create div which will have class as relative so that we can add one remove button as well over there. And also I will group that div. So we'll be using group width full, height will be 36. And I will set the rounded having overflow hidden. And also we can add shadow, MD, border, and color will be like gray 300. Okay. Now inside this div, I will use image element, and this image source will be from Alpine. So we will be using src. This will be source. And this is the way to write in Alpine.js. So in the source, I will pass the image.url, and this image URL is set from this index component because all the selected images URL will be set in this URL key. That's why we have pushed this object inside the array. So we have extracted here using this image.url. Now next we'll add class of this image like height and width to full, and we'll set this to object cover in order to cover the full width. Yes, this has opened. Now let's try to click on image. So I will select this image, and yes, when I selected any image, that selected image has shown here in the preview. We can add more images here. Okay. Now same thing, if we'll drag and drop the images. So I will drop this image, and yes, the dropped images are shown here in the preview. Now next we have to add the remove button here just above this image. So let's navigate to the code, and inside this product model, here after this image preview, I will add button remove. So let's add button, type will be button, class I will set this to cursor pointer, and I will apply the Z index over there, and this will be absolute, and the position will be top 1, and from right 1, let's set the BG red as 500, text will be white, and we can set the text extra small, padding X of 2, Y as 1, and let's make it rounded having opacity as 90, and on group hover I will set the opacity just like 100, and let's add the transition as well, and we can add the title like remove, and for the text I will add X. Now let's check out the browser. Now let's drag and drop images. So I will select these two images now. And yes, we have the image preview along with the remove button. Now we have to work on the remove functionality so that when we'll click on the remove, this should remove that particular image from that array list. So let's define the function. So inside the button, again we'll use Alpine click, and let's define the method as remove image. And I will pass the current index, that means current image index, which we have rendered here, so that it will be easier to identify while removing the image from the array list. Now let's copy this method name. Let's navigate to the index blade, and after this process file handling, here we'll define handle image remove. Let's copy that method remove image, and let's capture the image index here. So based on the index, we have to remove the image from the preview. So in the preview, we have the array of images. So let's copy this, and from this index, I will extract that file, and I will assign this in a variable like const image. Now further, I will check if image.type, because while setting the image, here we are setting one key as type as new or existing. So I will check if image.type is existing. That means if it is not new image, then I will filter that from that array list. So I will use this dot form dot existing images. Then I will use this dot form dot existing images dot filter, and I will filter the image. So I will check not equals image dot featured image, because in the database we have the field like featured image, so that when we will load the default product for view or edit, this will check from that. Now for the else if condition, if it is new image, so we'll type if image dot type is equals to new, then we have to get the file from images. So we'll use this dot form dot images, because we were setting the images in this form dot images state. So inside this, I will just use find index method. So from that method, we will just create the object URL of that file using create object URL, and if it is current image.url, and let's assign this in a variable just like file index. This is done. Now we will check if file index not equals -1, that means if file exists, then I will remove that from the array list. So I will use this dot form dot images dot splice function, and I will pass that current file index, and this will remove one element from that image array. Now after this if else if block, again we will have to remove the image from the image preview index. That will be for preview only. Okay, so we will be writing this dot image previews dot splice, and from there we will have to remove the index from the image preview. This is done. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's open the product, and further let's drag the images over there. So I will select these two images. I will drop it inside this, and if we'll click on remove, yes, the image got removed from the array. Same thing if we'll remove this one, yes, this also got removed. Now we will be working on the file handling and validation. So we already added the client-side validation for the selected images. If it is not type of image, then this will throw error, and that we will have to display it here inside the client side. So if we'll navigate to the code editor, inside the index, we already defined one state as errors, and we are setting the value by checking if it is not type of image. Okay. So we have to display this validation error message inside the model form, and after this input file, here render client side validation error. So these error states contain array, and which will have more than one error at the same time for the multiple images. So we will have to render that in the loop itself. So again I will create one div for this. I will set the class as text red like 600, text sm, and I will set the space of y as 1. And again for iterating the block, we will have to use template, which is provided by Alpine.js. So we'll write x4. Inside this, we have to iterate it using errors array. So we'll write error, and let's get the index as well in errors. This is our array, and let's add the index as key index. Now inside this template, again we will add div, and we can use the text attribute provided by Alpine.js in order to set the text of any div or any element. And this will have error, class will be text red 500, and let's close this div. Now if we'll check, if we will select any other file apart from image, so I will select one PDF file, and when I selected, this thrown error as PDF is not a valid image file. Here this is file.extension, which is basically the file original name. Now if we'll select image again, yeah, the image file is allowed and shown here as a preview. Now let's work on the form submission. So for handling the form, we will be using the Laravel approach. And for that, let's define the action and method here. So I will be using action attribute provided by Alpine. And here I will check if mode is equals to edit. Then I will use update route. So I will wrap that in the backtick, and I will use the route as products /$ and I will use form.id. Else for the create mode, I will be using route helper function, and inside the route, I will use products.store. And regarding the method, I will use post method. Also for the file handling, I will use encryption type, which will be multi-part form data. Now here I will use CSRF token as well and method spoofing as well for update, so that we can inject method directly. If it is type of edit, then we have to set as put request. And for rendering the if or for iteration, we will have to use the template element. So we will use template and we'll check the condition X if, and inside this, I will check the condition as if mode equals to edit. Then I will use method spoofing and I will pass input type as hidden and name will be like method and this value will be put. Now let's navigate on the controller. And for the store function, here we will have to add the form validation. So I will be using request validate function. And as of now, I'm going to write the validation rules inside the controller itself. If needed, you can create a separate form request for that. And let's define the field and rules like name, required, string, and max will be 255. Further, we have price, which will be required, and numeric. Also, we have this status, which is required, and I will set this in so that this will accept only specified value like active or inactive. We have the description, which will be required again, string, and lastly we have the images, which is type of array. So this will be required for the create, and this should accept array only. Now next we have to validate all the images or files which will be selected. So we'll set images dot asterisk, and this will be type of image only, having max file size 5 MB. Now after adding the validation rules, we will have to render the validation error messages inside the model form. So after every inputs, we will use error directive. If error has name, then I will use paragraph element having text red 500 text sm. Okay, and here we will write $message for rendering this error message. Now let's copy it quickly and add it for other inputs. We have the price, this is status, description, and lastly we have the image. So after rendering the client side, also I will render the server side validation here, and this will be images. Now let's navigate to the browser. Let's open the form and click on save. Now on save, we can see the validations are triggered, but the models get closed automatically. And we have to prevent this because if the form is not validated, then this should not be closed until the form is submitted successfully. So we have to check if form has any error, then this should reopen the model. And that is quite simple in Alpine.js. So we will track that. So now inside this index component, here we will have to use the Alpine lifecycle. So the Alpine.js provides lifecycle as init. That means when the component state has been loaded first time. So I will be using x init, and here I will define one method as init. You can define any method inside this init lifecycle. We can check out the Alpine.js documentation for this. So inside the Alpine.js, here we have the x init, and this will be executed when an element is initialized. So just in this way, we can call any method or event on component initialization. So further, let's define this method as init, and we have to track it based on Laravel directive like errors. So after this component, here I will check if any errors are there. So I will be using if errors any. Then inside this if block, I will be using a script, and inside this script, I will be adding document.add event listener, and this event will be Alpine init. Okay, so this is component state, and on component state, we are capturing this listener. And inside this callback, I will use Alpine.store, and in which we will store the value. So I will set product store as a key, and further inside that, I will just set the model flag to true, so that if any errors are there, then this will open that model by setting this state to true. And also, next we have to define this init lifecycle. So just above this open model function, init lifecycle. So I will initialize this method just like this, and I will check if Alpine.store has product store. Okay, and having is model open, then this will open that model in create mode, and also this will set the Alpine.store, and in the product store, this will reset the model open state to false. So we have triggered this init method, and when we will have any errors, this will call this method at init, and it will check and open the model. And here we will have to separate it using this comma for the next function. This is done. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's check. So on submit, yes, the validation errors are triggered and the model is kept opened. So using this way, we handled this model. Now let's continue this submit functionality. So inside the controller, let's insert this. So I will use product model create function, and we have the property like name. This will come from request name. Next we have slug. If we'll check the product model, we have this slug description. So let me copy these all fields and I will add it inside the controller. Let me align and let's add it quickly. And this slug will be captured from str helper function having slug method, and this will be from request name. Let's import this str helper function from Illuminate support str description, and we have the price. Now regarding the SKU, we will have to generate SKU for that because this will be dynamic and unique. Let's capture the status here. Now let's define one more method here to generate the SKU. So I will write function generate SKU. This will be function, and we can keep it private. Function generate SKU. Now inside this, I will concat key like SKU, and I will append some random string over there. So we'll write str to upper, and I will use str random function in which I will set this to 8 so that this will generate 8 characters of random string. Now I will assign this in a variable as SKU, and this I want to check from the products SKU from the product table, so that for every products this will generate unique SKU. And to check this repetitively, we'll wrap in do and while loop. So I will write while, and this will check from product model where SKU is current SKU. If it exists, this will check continuously until it gets unique value. Now I will keep this SKU inside this do block itself. Now after this do while, I will return the final SKU. Okay, so this will check recursively from the product table having column SKU. Now let's copy this method and let me call it here. So I will call $this generate SKU, and let me remove this variable. This is not needed now. Now after creating the product, let's capture this response in a variable because we have to store the images as well. So for the images, we have a separate table which is product images, and also we have defined the relation inside product model. So we will be using this relation for inserting the images inside this table. So inside the controller, firstly we'll check if request has file and having key as images. Now based on this, I will iterate those files. So we can use for each request file images as image. Now inside this, we will upload the image to the storage folder, upload to storage. And for storing the image, I will be using image store method, and let's set directory as products and in the public folder. Now after uploading that, let's capture the path in a variable as $path, and further we will have to insert product images with new path. So inside the product, we have the relation as product images, and there we will create this path. So inside this array, I will pass key as featured image, and we will have this path. Okay, and this will insert automatically the product ID, that means the foreign ID, because we have already specified the relation as primary and foreign. Now after inserting this, we will return the response. So we will write return redirect back with success, and the message will be product saved successfully. This is done. This is for image handling. Now same thing, we will update it for update method as well. So for the update function, again we will have to validate the request. So I will just copy this validation rules and I will keep it inside this. Now for the update, we will have the existing images as well. So in that scenario, we have to check if we have the existing images, then this won't ask for the required. So we'll have to check for the existing images, and here I will get the existing images from request itself, and that we will have to set it. But firstly, let's write the server side validation. So we will get it from request existing images. If it is there, then okay, else it will be empty array. And let's capture it in a variable like existing images. Okay, if it is there, then I will get the count. So I will check one variable like has existing images, and this will check if count of this existing images is greater than 0, and by default it will set this to false. Further, I will check if request has new images as well, so that we will be able to differentiate. If it has existing image, then this will check from the DB. If that exists, then this will keep the same. if in the database that request incoming image does not exist, and if it is type of existing, then this will remove that. Else if it is new image, then it will simply insert that in the database. So let's define variable like request, and we'll get it from hash file will be images. Now here for this images required condition, we will check if hash existing images or new images, then the rule will be nullable. That means it won't ask for the required, else it will be required and type of array. Further, we will have to update the product table. So we will be getting the product in the route model binding here. So this will return the product data. Now we will check product update, and inside this I want to update the limited fields like name, price, status and description. So we can use request only function, and inside the array I will pass those fields only which are name, price, status, description. That's all. And here we will have to handle the file for new and old as well. So firstly we will have to handle deleted images. That means if few images are removed from the client side but in the database it exists. So we will have to remove those images from the database as well. So we will write product having product images, and we will check where not in, and we have the key as featured image in the database, and we will pass this existing images which will return the array. Okay, and I will use the get method. Now for deleting this, I will continue using this callback, and I will iterate it using each function in which I will get the image. Okay, and I will ensure if image exists, then I will delete that from a storage. So I will be using a storage facade, and for the disk we have to use public. Okay, and I will be using delete method, and in the delete we have to pass the image path which will be image from featured image. Now after deleting the image from the storage, we have to delete it from the database as well. So we will be using image delete method. This is done. Now also we have to handle the new image. That means if in the form, if we have selected new image, then those selected image should be uploaded. So this will handle new images, and we will check if we have new images, and for that we have defined this variable. So we will check if hash new images, then this will iterate images, and we will have to get it from request file images as $file. Now for the storing images, again we will have to use file store, and the path will be products public. Let's capture the response as a path. So this will store image in a storage. Now we have to update the new path in the database as well. So we'll have to save it, save new file path in the DB. So I will be using $product, and again we will call the relation as product images. Inside that we will have to create it directly. So we will set featured image as a key as we have already done for the create, and we will pass the new path here. Now after this, let's return the success response. So I will copy it from here itself, and I will paste it after this, and the message will be product updated successfully. Now let's handle for the destroy as well. So for the destroy, I will check if we have product, then I will delete that, and after deleting that product, I will return the response in the success similar to this. And the message will be product deleted successfully. For the else part, if product does not exist, I will set the key as error, product not deleted. This is done. So the server side logics are completed. Now we have to come to the client side. But firstly, we'll come to the browser and here we'll try to create product. So let's create the first product here. I will give the name as earbud. The price will be 34,999 and the status will be active, description, and I will select the featured image. So inside the products, we have the image. Okay. I will click on save. Yes, the product has been created, but we could not see any success message because we have not shown that as a flash message here. And also we have not rendered the product's data. But in order to make sure product is created, let's check out the database. And here we have the product images. Now let's navigate to the products table. Yes, the product has been created alongside the images. So now let's render the product data from this controller. So here we will have to fetch product and we will apply order by ID descending. And also we'll have to get the images. So I will use with product images. And lastly, I will paginate the records. So for paginating the records, I will apply the paginate as 5 as of now. You can set as per the needs. And I will capture this in a variable as products. Now let's pass this in the compact to the blade file. Now in the index blade, we have to render the products. So here inside the tbody, I will use for else directive and we have the variable as products as product. Now let's keep this tr inside this for else block. And for the empty block, I will copy the tr and I will set it inside this. And here we will have to set the call span as 7. And here let's render the product data. So for the index, I will be using loop index +1. And next we have to render the product name. This will be product name. Further we have the SKU, product SKU, price, product price, and I will format this product price. So I will use number format here. And I will pass this product price inside this number format function. Further, we have to display the status, product status, and I will keep this in capitalize. Okay. Next, we have to display the image. So for rendering the images, I will use if condition to check if product has featured image. So I will be using product having product images count. Okay. Then only I will render that in the image source element, and I will use asset function. Inside that we'll pass the path as a storage, and further we will have to concat image as product images. And I want to display the first image only in the featured image of the listing, because there can be more than one images to be uploaded for the products, but we have to show the only one image for the featured image. So I will extract first featured image only, and further I will use alt attribute which will have image, and also we can set the classes in order to set the width and height of the image. So let's set the width as 30, height I will set this to like 18, and object will be cover, and let's add the border radius as rounded. This is done. Now let's come to the browser, and yes, we have the product rendered over here. We can add the action buttons just like view, edit and delete. So let's quickly add that inside the TD. I will add view button. So this will be button, and I will add title as view, and let's add the classes like cursor pointer, bg blue because this is view. So I will set bg blue 500 over bg blue 600, text white, padding 2, and I will set this to rounded with transition effect. Now in between the button text, I will be using lucid icon again. So I will pass data lucid I for view, and inside this lucid icon, I can set the class in order to manage the width and height. Now let's quickly copy this button and add for edit and delete. This will be for edit, delete. Now regarding this delete, I will come to this part later because we have to handle it using form event itself. Firstly, let's handle it for view and edit. This will be pencil icon, and I will set the class as green. For the delete button, I will set this to red, and the icon will be trash 2, just like this. Let's check now. Yes, we have the buttons visible for the action, and we can give some spaces between these buttons, just like this demo, so that we can apply it here in this TD as a space of X as 2. And if we'll check, yes, now we have proper spacing among these buttons. Now let's work on the view and edit action first. So on view, again I want to trigger the same model that we have used for create product. But this time we have to populate the data over there. So let's create one more function here, and that I will call it using this button on click. So I will use click event again, and again this will call the same function as open model, but the parameter will be view because we have set type as create, view and delete. So in the open model, we already captured one parameter as type, and this type value is coming as create from this add product button. But for the view, we need to pass as view, and same thing for edit. Here I will call it, and this will be type of edit. Now based on this, this will open the same model. If we'll click on view, yeah, the model has been opened. For the edit, yes, this is opened. Now we have to set the condition in order to check if it is type of view or edit. Then based on that, we have to set the disable property to disable the entire form inputs. Firstly, we will have to render the data to the form. So I will pass the data as well, and this data will be entire object which is product. So after this view, in the second parameter, I will pass the product data just like this, and same thing for edit. Now let's navigate to this function as open model, and let's receive the product, and I will initialize this with null because for create there won't be any product. Now based on this, I will set the state of this key which is mode. Firstly, I will assign the mode as this.mode equals type. So whatever type will be coming from that button like create, view or edit, that will be assigned on this state key. Also, I will define one more key here as is view. Initially it will be false, and here inside the open model function, firstly I will check if type is equals to view, then I will assign this to is view. Okay, so I will write this dot is view. So by default this will assign true or false based on the value. Further, we have to update the titles. So we have defined key as model title. So this dot model title, and again we'll check this dot each view. Then the title will be like product details. Else, if we have type as edit, the title will be update product. Else the default title will be create product. And every time when the model will be opened, we have to reset the client side errors. So we'll set the this dot errors to empty array. And also we have to reset the form state, which we have already defined as a global variable, just like this. So let's copy this. And here we will assign this to form, and this will be initial state, just like this. Now we have to check if we have the product data, then we have to populate to the form. So we'll check if product is there. Then I will use object.assign function, and I will assign all the data to this state variable, which is form. So I will create one object and I will assign all the properties, like we need ID for update. Okay. So that I will get it from product.id. Further we need name, and this will be from product.name. We need price, product.price. Status will be product.status. We have the description field from product.description. Further we need images as well. So for the images, we will store that in existing images, and we already defined one state key for that. And for this, we will have to use existing images that we already introduced here for removing the image. And this we are setting here in the form state itself. So let's use this existing images, and this will have the product images, because at the client side we will have to access it using object as product images, and we will use .map, and I will get the image as featured image. Now also we have to set the existing images in the preview as well. So we'll check for the image previews. If we have product images, then again I will map it, but for the preview we need the full path in order to render that image. So we will have to use in the URL, we will have to concat the storage folder as well, because that is the full path. So we will write a storage, and further we will have to concat the image.featured image, this one. So let's copy this, and further we'll have to define the type. This will be type of existing, because we have differentiated the file type while removing it as type new or existing. So that we have used here for checking the existing images, which is coming from the database. And path will be image.featured image. Okay. And we will have to update this path here while removing the image. So this will be path from image.path, because this we are getting from the state itself as image previews. So this is done. Now for the else part, if product is not there, then this will have image previews empty, and finally this model will be opened. Now in order to bind the data in the form using these form states, we will have to navigate to the product model, and against every input we will have to bind the form data in order to populate that. And for binding the data, Alpine.js provides model attribute. So if we'll check here, we have this model, and this is similar to Livewire or Vue.js. There we use model directive. Okay. So in the same way, we will have to bind the input attributes with the form state. So let's bind it one by one. So let's start from name. This is product name. For the input, let's write X model, and this will have to get it from form.name. Also, we can set the value property, and in the value, we will have to check if we have old value. That means this will be captured from the old data while submitting the form if we have the validation errors. So in the old, we will have to set the name. Now let's copy these two attributes and let's navigate to the next field. We have price. Let's change this to price. This will be price. Further, we have the status. For the status, we have to bind it. So in the select here, let's paste this, and this will be form.status. Now let's cut this value because this will be applied on the options only. And here we will check if we have old status equals active, then this will be selected, else it will be empty. Let's copy this and let's add for inactive. Yeah, this is done. Also, we'll have to edit for description. So let's copy this model and here we will add it. Change the name to description. And for the old property, here we will have to write as old description. Now let's navigate to the browser. And if we'll check the application by clicking on view, yes, on view, we have all the data rendered. Okay. We have the name, price, status as active, and we have the featured image. But this form is still active. So we have to apply the reusable property over there. So let's start from name, and here we'll have to use the reusable attribute from Alpine, which will be like reusable, just like this. And it will be reusable only when we have each view set in the form. So we already defined one state for this as each view. So when this will be true, these all fields will be reusable. So let's copy and apply for other fields. This is for price. Here we have the status, description. Okay. And now regarding the image upload, this will be shown only if it is not each view. So I will hide it, this section from here. Only we need the label. So I will write X so, which will just toggle this section based on the condition. And I will check if not each view. Now regarding the buttons, we have to hide the submit button on view. So again, I will add the same condition on this button. So here, just before this, I will use X so, again, if it is not each view. So on the submit button, here, I will apply X so, if not each view. And regarding this text property, I will create one span. And inside this span, I will use X text attribute, and this will check if the mode is edit, then the text will be update, else the text will be save. And if we'll scroll to top, here for this model title, we already have the model title state defined, this one. So I will be using this. So again, we'll have to use X text equals this model title. So again, this has bound with that state variable, and whatever the text will be coming from that state, this will be applied on this heading text. Now let's navigate to the browser. Let's click on view. On view, we have the heading as product details. We have these fields disabled. We don't have this save button here. Also, we will have to hide this remove button on the view mode. So let's add the same condition for this. Here, for this button, let's add X so, if not is view. Okay. that is not visible now. Let's check for edit. Yes, on edit, all the values are populated over the form. We have the name, price, status, description, and also the featured image. The title is update product and the button text is also update. Now if we'll try to update the product name, earbud new, I will click on update. Here this said the product image is required because on update, we have to set the image in the hidden field while submitting the form. So again, we will have to navigate to the code editor and inside the product model itself, just after this button, we will set the existing image path to the backend. So I will use if condition, and for that we will have to use the template element just like this. Now inside this, I will check if condition, if we have image, this one, if image dot type is equals to existing, because from this index blade state, we already used this existing or new. So based on that, I will check if type of image is existing. Then I will create one input type hidden and the name will be existing images. And the name we already captured here in the product controller while update. So in the update function, we have already used this existing images key. Okay. So we have to keep the same name because here while updating the product, we are checking if the incoming image is existing or new. So let's continue with this. This is type of array. And for the value, we have to set the value attribute as well. And here, this will be image.path that we have already set the path in this index blade here. Okay. And this is done. Now let's come to the browser again. And let's try to update this. Earbud new. If we'll update, yeah, the product has been updated. Now in the next step, we have to capture the flash message here because at the server side, we already returned the flash message for every actions like create, update, and delete. So we have to capture the success or error messages here in this index blade. So just at the top here inside this div, I will show flash messages. I will use if session has success or else if session has error. In both scenarios, we have to display the session flash messages. And if, okay. Now inside the if condition, I will use div class and I will set the styling like bg green 200 for the success. Text will be green like 900, padding x 3. I will set the border and border color as border green 400, padding y of 2, and let's make it rounded having margin bottom of 4. Now inside this div, I will display the message. So I will use session success. Now let's copy it and add it for error. And here we will add bg red. Key will be error. Now we have to hide this flash message after a few interval of times. So I will set data as so, and by default this will be true. But on init, that means when the component initialized, I will set timeout, and at timeout I will set this state to false. So I will use so equals false, and I will set the timeout time as 4000 millisecond, and this will be visible only on X so, and in the so we have to pass this state as so. We can pass the transition. Now let's copy this and let's add it for this else if condition. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's try to click on edit and let's update the price to 17,000. Okay, let's update. Yes, we have this success message of this flash, and after 4 seconds this got removed automatically. Now let's try to upload more images for this. So I will select one more image. So I will select this one. I will click on update. Yes, this is updated. Now if we'll check on view, we have 2 images. Okay, on edit, we have 2 images. So this is working. Let's change the status to inactive. Yeah, this has updated. Now let's create one more product. So on add product, everything has been reset to create mode. We have the create product title, we have the button, and the form inputs are enabled. Now I will create one more product as Apple Airport, price 40,000, status will be active, and description, I will select the image Apple. Okay, yes, this has created. Now for the second product, I will remove the first image which was selected as featured image, and I will keep the second. Now I will update. Yes, when I removed the first image, the second image is automatically selected for the featured image. Now we have to work on the delete functionality. So on delete, firstly we will have to ask for one confirmation alert, and then we will have to submit the form. So when we'll click on delete, this should submit the request to the delete route. So here inside the delete action, I will create one form and I will set the action as route, and this will be triggered to products.destroy, this one, and I will pass the product ID, and this method will be post from here, and let's set the class as inline block, so all the buttons and icons should be visible in the same line. And on submit, I will just return one confirmation alert. Confirm, are you sure you want to delete this product? Okay, now inside this form we will have to use the CSRF token, and let's do method spoofing as delete because we have to trigger this form action on delete route. Also we'll have to change this button, so we'll have to set the button type to submit. Okay, and let's close this form after this button. Now let's navigate to the browser and let's try to delete this second product. I'll click on delete. Yeah, this asked for this confirmation. If I will cancel, the deletion got cancelled, and if we'll click on OK, yes, the product has been deleted and we got the success response here. And that's a wrap on today's session. We just built a full-featured product management with models using Alpine.js, drag and drop image previews, multi-image uploads, Laravel powered backend with validation and cleanup, and a clean UI with Tailwind CSS and Lucid icons. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Laravel plus front-end content. Also, you can drop your thoughts or feature suggestions in the comments below. I reply to everyone. Until next time, keep building something amazing. Thanks for watching.